Fucci, Maine, back with you. Team Kwahi Leonard let the NBA world know today that he wants a fresh start with a different NBA team, and he would like it to be the Lakers. Just completed his 7th NBA season. Got 1 year left on his contract. He was the 15th pick of the 2011 draft, but he's developed into arguably like a top 3 player. 2014 Finals MVP, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, while averaging 25 points a game 2 years ago. He really blossomed offensively. Woj also said the Celtics would be interested in acquiring Leonard. Remember, he reported earlier in the week that they talked to the Spurs around the trade deadline about getting Leonard. But for now, his preference appears to be the Lakers. The folks in Vegas seem to believe Kawhi will get his wish. Spurs odds to win the NBA title next season dropped from 30-1 to 50-1 today, assuming this trade's going to happen. And as where the odds maker think Kawhi will play, again, LeBron rumors already swirling. They opened at 20-1. Now they moved to 10-1 if all of this stuff is going to happen. So big news, Kawhi and the Lakers? NBA front office insider Bobby Marks is with us. Spent 20 years in the league, assistant GM for the Nets. You know how this works. All right, just from a pure basketball trade, Kawhi Leonard wants out. The Lakers would like to have them. They weren't very good last year. How could the Lakers get Kawhi Leonard on their team? That's step one.
No, you're right. They weren't very good. This is your 35-win Laker team from last year. And here are their tradable assets. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart. Here's the sticking point right here. Luol Deng owed $37 million. If I'm San Antonio, this is a non-starter right now. This is what I am looking for. Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, not Lonzo Ball. Maybe even throw in the 25th pick in the draft. And if we do a trade like that and we put a player like Kawhi Leonard and we replace him with Brandon Ingram,
right?
We take Kentavious Caldwell-Pope out. Let's put cap space in there.
Okay.
What that does is that you'll be able to still keep a player like Julius Randle. Maybe we can get LeBron James. That is your Laker team right there. And be able to keep Randle, have flexibility, not getting rid of that Deng contract. Now you can't get 2 max players. That's what does that for you.
So that's what's holding it up, is that Deng contract, meaning it will likely only be LeBron and Kawhi, not another huge piece in your mind.
You could find maybe a third team for Deng, maybe Atlanta, who has cap space.
Okay.
2 first-round picks. That is the likely going cost to get rid of Deng.
And if you're a Laker fan and you're a Laker GM, you want to keep Randle and team him with James and Leonard. That's the best Laker team in your mind.
That is the priority for me because he's a big. Mm-hmm. Where are you going to find another big on the free agent market? Paul George, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard sounds nice, but everything around it doesn't work. It really depletes your depth.
And this is a pretty good team. He was really good down the stretch. I think Laker fans would like to see him stay there. But, boy, Kuzma and Ingram, that's a big price, but that's a real good player, Kawhi Leonard. Bobby Marks, you'll also see him on the NBA draft as well next week. All right, so again, a great start to really the Hall of Fame arc. Kawhi Leonard, remember, he was the 2014 Finals MVP. Really frustrated LeBron James. James was a member of the Heat. He averaged 17.8 points a game. The great defense. Again, go on to be the MVP. Remember, then he went up to 25 points a game. Really going high until last year's weird season with injuries and stuff behind the scenes. 2015, again, Defensive Player of the Year. One of the 2 times he has done that, 15 and 16. Spurs' #1 rated defense, and he just seemed like the quintessential Spur player. 2017, we mentioned the scoring really developed. One of those players just kept getting better and better and better. Regular season career high of 41 points against the Cavs in Cleveland. Overtime, this is January 21st. Game-sealing dunk. After the jump ball, gets the steal. Spurs will win this game 118-115 in overtime. March of 2017. Rockets Spurs under 20 seconds to play. Spurs down by 1. Rises up. Bam. Makes the big 3. Now the Rockets ensuing possession. Again, this is Leonard in a nutshell. Why he is so highly coveted. You forget how good he was after all that went on last year. The injury, even going back to the playoff before against the Warriors. He had 39 points in this one. Really. Listen, I do this for ease to make them believe. I make them believe. Here's what they say in the streets. I got what they need. I got what they need.
That's facts. I know you can't match that. I live on the best track. We're making the impact and keeping it intact.
Our top story here on SportsCenter today, the report that Kwahi Leonard, one of the biggest stars in the NBA, wants out of San Antonio. This according to our Chris B. Haynes. And also, Kwahi reportedly, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, prefers to go to Los Angeles, preferably the Lakers. This comes after months of contentiousness between Leonard and the Spurs surrounding the handling of Kawhi's quad injury, which kept him out of all but 9 games this past season. And here is Chris Haynes a couple hours after breaking the story. Chris, Kwahi, Greg Popovich still have not met face-to-face this offseason. So why is this news coming out now?
Well, look, the Kawhi's camp has always been felt like they have been slighted by the Spurs all season long. They felt like there's a level of distrust there with the way his quad injury has been handled and the narrative surrounding that injury. And so leading up to the draft, we all know that's when trades start circulating. That's when things start forming. And Kwahi has yet to sit down and have a meeting with the Spurs brass. And I was told that the Spurs wanted that to happen, but it probably wanted that to happen with just Kwahi. And that's just not going to play right now. So I think all these factors led to the point to where Kwahi has basically felt like he's had enough and he wants to get out of San Antonio. And that's what I reported this morning. When
you say just Kwahi, you mean without agents, without family members?
Correct. Without agents, without his agent, without family members. The Spurs will like to deal with this with just Kwahi. Okay. But I think from Kawhi's camp, they felt like it hasn't just been Kwahi, it's been the whole camp. That's been the level of scrutiny has been going towards all of them. And they wanted to have if they were going to have a meeting, they wanted to have this together. Okay. And I think that both sides couldn't agree to make that happen. I think that's what led to where we are now.
So here's the thing. One of many interesting things, the Spurs are the only team that can offer Kwahi the Supermax contract. Why leave that much money on the table, which is over $30 million, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people felt like Kwahi Leonard, he's a businessman first and foremost, and a basketball player, but they felt like he would be crazy to leave over $30 million on the table. But the level of distrust that Kwahi feels that the organization placed upon him and the way he handled his injury in this situation, he felt like he just wants to be in a situation where he trusts the organization, trusts that they have his best interests in mind. And he's willing to let go of that money to go out to greater pastures. Now, look, I think something can still be amended here. Obviously, it's going to take those two to come to terms and come together on that. But as of right now, Kwahi feels like he's better suited being somewhere else. And he's not even thinking about the money right now. And that's a huge problem because remember, the Spurs don't deal with problems like this. But already 2 years in a row, LaMarcus requested trade last summer. Now we have Kwahi. So things have definitely changed in Spurs land.
Yeah, LaMarcus and Pop worked that out. Things are good with them. But now this, and remember, Greg Popovich, the loss of his wife just 2 months ago. So very tough times personally as well for Greg Popovich. Chris Haynes, great stuff today. Thank you. Kevin?
Well, Kwahi established himself as one of the best players in the game in the 2014 NBA Finals stage. He was named MVP of that series at age 22, shot over 61% from the floor. Leonard has turned into one of the best defensive players in the game. How about Defensive Player of the Year in both 2016 and 2017, finishing the top 3 in MVP voting both years. Two-way player. Also has improved in scoring average each of his first 6 seasons. First, in his last full season, he averaged over 25 points per game. And that year, he led the Spurs to the Western Conference Finals. He had dropped 26 points in 24 minutes in Game 1 against the Warriors. However, he sprained his ankle in that game, and the Spurs were swept. It's great to have Michael Wilbon with us. And Michael, 2 years ago, Kwahi was the perfect Spur, one of the 3 best players in the NBA. Now we're here. What's your reaction to that he wants out of San Antonio?
Well, Kevin, my first reaction is this is unbelievably short-sighted. And he's getting some advice I wouldn't trust in a million years. In the Spurs, you're talking about the most stable NBA organization over the last 20 years in all probability. I mean, from David Robinson to Tim Duncan to Kwahi Leonard and all the people around him to have R.C. Buford and Greg Popovich there. And all throughout his arrival, his maturation, from a guy people didn't expect much of to an NBA Finals MVP. You've got Ginobili and Parker and just a cast that is so stable. And because somebody gets in your ear and tells you you can't trust them anymore, it just seems to me to be, I don't know, it seems to be a sort of a sad day. Not for the Spurs necessarily. I think the Spurs will find a way to recover. But Kawhi Leonard, maybe he'll recover if he gets traded to one of those teams that's also stable and has a history of winning. If he gets his wish and he goes to the Lakers, if perhaps he winds up on the Celtics. But if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, I'm only worried about the deal I get back, not what his wishes might be.
Okay, when it comes to fit and personnel, what would be the perfect destination for Kawhi?
Well, I don't know about perfect, but I mean, there's some destinations and where it could work out. Obviously, we've heard the talk about the Lakers. If I'm the Spurs, I got to get Brandon Ingram back for starters and maybe Kuzma. I mean, I'm not just going to let Kawhi Leonard join your team because he wants out when he's under contract. That's not going to happen. So the Lakers would seem to be a good fit then, particularly if they can still successfully pursue LeBron James, and or Paul George. So, I mean, that's got a lot of upside to it. And the Celtics have so many assets, Kevin. You can do the same thing with playing that game. What do I have to have in return? And we know that Kyrie Irving's name would come up. He wouldn't be the only thing given his injury history, but he would be one of the pieces I'd be asking back.
Okay, and then what impact could this have on LeBron's decision in your mind with where Kawhi goes?
Well, I mean, if you conduct a trade and you think you have Kawhi Leonard coming to the Lakers and LeBron James looks there and sees he gets to play with Kawhi, now you're talking about the kind of personnel that you feel you can look eye to eye with the Golden State Warriors next year. I mean, we know Kawhi Leonard is not scared of the Golden State Warriors. Last time he played against them, he had a 25-point lead in Oakland in Game 1 of a Western Conference Final. So that, to me, would seem to have put a little extra pop in LeBron James' step if he was serious about joining the Lakers as a free agent.
It could be the first big domino in a very, very fun offseason ahead. Michael Wilbon on the biggest story of the day with Kawhi Leonard. Check this out. The Lakers won only 35 games last season, but after the news about Kawhi today, their odds are now 6-1 to win the NBA title next season. Only the Warriors, the Rockets, the Sixers, and Celtics have better odds to win the title next year. Meanwhile, the Spurs odds have doubled from 25-1 to 50-1 since the end of the season.